Seeing some of my favorite characters cross over into other franchises is something I've always greatly enjoyed. Whether it was Link making his way into Soul Calibur 2 on the Nintendo GameCube. I mean, how cool was it to see the savior of Hyrule show off his swordsmanship skills in 1v1 combat? Though Link was not the only adventurer to make their way into this franchise.
Challenged a Witcher. Must have had a death wish.
Even everyone's favorite Monster Hunter found his way into Soul Calibur. Speaking of Monster Hunter, does anyone else remember all the excitement there was when Geralt and Ciri were announced to be coming to Monster Hunter World?
Must have been magic of some kind that brought me to this world.
These were the type of crossovers that no one asked for, but everyone ends up loving. And while I do think it's fun and exciting to have guest appearances or little crossover events, there have been games completely built from the ground up around the concept of being a crossover, letting fans see what it would really be like to combine two powerhouse franchises. And this is something a lot of fans actually do ask for.
Haven't we done this before?
I have no record of a previous encounter.
We have met. I am sure of it.
Way back in the 16-bit era, we saw the release of Robocop vs. Terminator, the video game. And let's just face it, this is one match-off we all wanted. In fact, if you were into geek culture in the 80s and early 90s, I guarantee you had debates over who would win this fight. The time-traveling assassin, a cool calculated weapon of Skynet's that doesn't feel pity, remorse, or fear, and absolutely will not stop until it has terminated its target. Or Alex James Murphy, aka Robocop, Detroit's ultimate law-enforcing police officer.
What is this shit?
We all wanted to see this play out before our eyes. And while there were comic book series based on this premise, we wanted to see it brought to life on the screen. And that is exactly what this video game did. I mean, let's be honest, we all wanted to see these two juggernauts face off in live action, but since we never got the movie adaptation of this concept, at least we have Robocop vs. Terminator, the video game, allowing us a small window in what it would be like to see these two iconic characters square off in real time.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Fuck you, asshole.
Now, like most games during the Sega and Super Nintendo time period, there were vast differences between these two versions of the game. For starters, on the Super Nintendo, we got treated to some cool comic book-like cinematics between each of the levels, fully fleshing out the story. Basically, we discovered that Alex Murphy was the reason why Skynet went from being a controllable AI software program into the self-aware, human-hating hive mind it becomes. Long story short, there are Terminators that are sent back in time to trick Robocop into linking his human mind with Skynet, as Robocop is the missing link Skynet needs to become self-aware. However, unfortunately for Alex Murphy, this forces his consciousness to spend decades trapped inside Cyberdyne systems, as he is forced to watch the machines commit massive acts of genocide against his fellow man. Could you imagine all the pain and suffering Alex Murphy went through throughout those years? It would be a living nightmare, being forced to witness the horrors and atrocities Skynet commits against mankind, seeing millions of men, women, and children slaughtered. And if that wasn't bad enough, Murphy would have a front row seat to the terrors that went on in the death and slave camps Skynet used. You would be hard-pressed to find a character with a more tragic fate than Alex Murphy. Think about it. He has one of the most painful and brutal deaths ever put on film. And it's not just traumatic physical pain Robocop endures. This is a man that's gone through extreme emotional torment, like having to lie to his wife that he's no longer her husband and that Alex Murphy is in fact dead. He does all of this just to protect her from having hope that their marriage could work when he knows it never could. Because while he might still be alive, Alex Murphy is trapped within a cold, lifeless body.
They made this to honor him.
Your husband is dead. I don't know you.
Robocop is a great story about a man who has lost literally everything, but somehow still finds the will to fight. No matter what horrors he faces, he's a perfect example of how the human spirit is indestructible.
Nice shooting, son. What's your name?
Murphy.
Honestly, the character traits of Alex Murphy really reminds me of what John Connor and his resistance stand for. No matter how dire, how hopeless things are, there will always be those willing to fight for their fellow man and keep pushing forward. The character of Robocop embodies the human spirit and his incredible strength, just like John Connor does. And while John Connor bravely leads mankind in the fight against the machines in the outside, Murphy is fighting within, trying to find a way out of the cyber hell Skynet has placed him into. And luckily, he does. In fact, not only does he get out, he uses Cyberdyne technology to rebuild him a new body and weaponry. And once he's out, he goes right back into his prime directive, to protect the innocent. Now, while the story and the way it's told in the Super Nintendo version is really awesome, I have to admit, it is inferior to the Sega Genesis version in just about every other way, from the visuals to the animations. Not to mention, the blood and gore are just not there. On the Sega Genesis, when you kill a thug, they turn into a bloody mist. On the Super Nintendo, they kind of just explode? Who thought it was a good idea to have Robocop and Terminator in a game without violence and gore? If you think it was smart to have these two franchises toned down to a PG-13 title and censored, you're a dick and should be fired.
Dick, you're fired! Thank you.
So I'm happy to see that the Sega Genesis version corrected this. Overall, I really hope that someday we get a new Robocop vs. Terminator game that blends these two versions together. Give me the gameplay and gore of the Genesis version with the storytelling aspects from the Super Nintendo. Toss in some balance changes, because let's face it, most of us could not beat either one of these games without using cheat codes or save states. And for the love of God, give us a better final boss than just a giant Terminator head. Though I will admit, seeing Robocop hold up the Terminator skull at the end of the series really reminds me of something a Predator would do. It looks so badass. But speaking of Predators, let's discuss another matchup turned into a video game that everyone loved. In fact, unlike Robocop vs. Terminator with its many gameplay flaws, this one was pure perfection. So stick around.
Stick around.
When most people think of the Aliens vs. Predator video games, they think of the first-person shooters. And while I do love those, there is another AVP game I want to talk about. A game that if you were lucky enough to play it as a kid, meant that you had an experience of pure epicness in video game format. So why do I want to talk about this game?
Cause some damn fool accused you of being the best.
That would be me. I'm the damn fool, and I'm accusing Aliens vs. Predator, the arcade game, of being the best. Not only is it one of the best AVP games, it's one of the best beat-em-up games out there. This belongs in the conversation of the greatest of all time, along with Streets of Rage, Turtles in Time, Super Double Dragon, and Final Fight. If you've not played this game, do yourself a favor. Stop watching this video, go find yourself an emulator, and play it. You can thank me later by leaving a like on this video. It had it all. Amazing gameplay, insane visuals, epic music. 4 playable characters, each with a unique play style. Lieutenant Kurosawa, the fast-paced ninja type of character. The Warrior Predator, who's basically the jack of all trades. The Hunter Predator, who's a bit more fragile than the Warrior, but makes up for it with his incredible speed. And then there's my personal favorite, Dutch Schaefer, the powerhouse of the group. Much like Mike Hager from Final Fight or Max from Streets of Rage 2. That is right, you could play as a Predator or Dutch. The only thing that can make this roster more epic is if the game had Carl Weathers, because how sick would it be to be Apollo Creed and punch xenomorphs in the face?
Dylan!
You son of a bitch.
Alien vs. Predator the arcade game basically took everything awesome from both franchises, tossed them into a blender to produce the most epic game any fan could ever dream of. We have weapons from both franchises, like the Predator staff, disc blade, and shoulder cannon, to the guns from the Alien movies, like the Smart Gun and a personal friend of mine, the M41A pulse rifle.
Hey,
I want to introduce you to a personal friend of mine.
Hell, we even have levels where we're right on top of the APC as we blast away against hordes of xenomorphs. Dutch on top of the tank from Aliens? How much more awesome could you get? And it's not just cool characters, amazing weapons this game has to offer. We face off against a ton of different enemy types, from drones to facehuggers, to freshly born Xenos, as they crawl around trying to bite away at our ankles and chip away our health. Hell, we even face an alien queen, not to mention power loaders, a mad predator, zombies. It even brought in Wayland Yutani and all the crazy corrupt stuff the corporation does for the game's plot. The devs did not care. They threw caution to the wind. They just wanted to make an Aliens vs Predator game that was pure fun. It was outrageous, it was crazy. This game was one badass. How could you not love it? There was never a dull moment. Each second was packed with pure action. Even the stage clear screen had your character doing a battle cry that felt right out of the movie. Whether it was the Predator doing the iconic mask removal and roaring, letting the prey know who was the apex predator.
One ugly motherfucker.
Or Dutch doing his alpha male war cry. Robocop vs Terminator and Aliens vs Predator the arcade game are two titles I would love to see ported to modern consoles, or at least brought back in a convenient way to play them. I just miss the days we would get these off-the-wall, crazy video games that were focused on fun and delivered an incredible experience. You never knew what to expect. I mean, we got Battletoads and Double Dragons that combine both elements of those franchises, blending fun gameplay and wacky humor, not to mention the birth of X-Men vs Street Fighter.
X-Men versus Street Fighter!
Which later basically turned into Marvel vs Capcom. These crossovers just delivered something beautiful, and still get talked about to this day. But I would love to hear what you all think. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. By the way, if you made it this far and did enjoy the video, let me know by dropping a like, and if you are new, please consider subscribing. As for me, I got a ton of work to do, so I'm gonna get back to the grind. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.